if you can run your family, you can run a business.
Technically, your family is a business. You know,
I've never heard anybody say that.
your family is a business. Because think about it. You have you're generally the wife is managing the things at home, okay? Or the kids, making sure everybody eats, make sure, you know, the husband working so they make sure the bills get paid. You know, you have things that you're operating outside of the house. You know, you have accounts payable, you have accounts receivables, things that you're paying out, income that's coming in, you know, where are things are going to be saved. So, you know, who's going to do the planning for the year, where are we going for the summer. Your family is a business. Big time.
Big time.
All right, guys, you want to build a family business. I have a trio of people that you got to meet. Listen, this is Michael Tucker with the $1 Million Secrets podcast. And today I brought in a good family. Like, how's it going, guys? How's it going?
Going
Great.
good.
Nice to
Going
see you
good.
again.
These people, they're in some mastermind groups that I was a part of. And I was like, you know what? I have to bring them in because what they're building, and they were sharing an event with me that they actually have coming up, which we'll talk about later. But their mission to help families build family businesses, I'm like, so cool, because the stigma is don't build a family business.
Right.
Are you guys like, okay, we'll start there. You hear people say never start a family business. You're going to fight. What's that like? Obviously it's working for you guys. So what's the stigma behind that and why?
For sure. Yo, you can go ahead though.
I think a lot of it has to do with people, you know, families can't work together. And that's actually not true, because if you look back at some of the older families, you know, everything was based on their family, their empire, their legacy, the Rockefellers, the Morgan, was it Chase?
JP Morgan,
JP Morgan and Chase, you know, a lot of that was about the Ford, was family. And then when you look at in the Black community, it was Johnson and Johnson.
Right.
It was so many. You have Robert Smith. You have I went totally blank on some of the people that we have. But when you think about Celine Williams and Venus Williams and their dad, that was a family business. Even though
And the Black Enterprise too.
Right, Black Enterprise, the Graves. Even though they were sports, it was still a family business. So when you work together as a family, if you've seen some of these other families,
Right.
if you work as a family, it becomes successful. The family business is prospering. So instead of being always separate, now it's like, let's work together so we can, because it's one, you know, 3 minds are better than one. You know what I'm saying? But yes, we all have our own talents, and bringing that talent to the business, it can help your business grow faster instead of just having one person.
Right. And it's so cool because you guys all have different personality types and you guys all are great at separate things. We got like the systems, we got like the people that aren't afraid to be in front of the cameras and be like outspoken. So it's really cool. So people that are here and they're like, I just don't think that would work for my family. Like, do you think it's for every family, or do you think it's only for like varies family by family on how you can build a business together?
That's a great question. I don't think we've ever had that question asked. I still firmly believe that anybody can do it as long as they take your ego out of the picture.
Take your ego out.
Like
Okay.
if you remove your pride, your ego, you can run a family business, which is something that
very
you
difficult.
actively have to be aware of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I still go through it. Like we just had a meeting where my ego was involved.
What do you mean? Like, let's go into
Like,
let's go
so-
family business here. Let's dive
like-
into it. What ego do you have? What ego do you have, brother?
All right, before we get to that, I'll explain what it means by the meeting. So we have something called a family legacy meeting every single week.
Every week?
Every week.
Every
Once a
week.
week, you want to have a family legacy meeting, and you want to break it up into 2 different parts. You want to talk about the business, and then you want to talk about the family. Right? Now, we were talking about the business in this sense. No, we were talking about the family in this sense. I can't even remember which one. I think it was the family. And like over time, I got more irritated. And then I just shut down. I was just like, I'm not hearing anything that anybody
You got
else is
shut
saying.
down, or I got shut down?
And
It was a mixture.
It was
of
a
both.
mixture
To
of
start
both.
off with.
There's a lot of different things, but like when you have a family, like sometimes you have to walk away and come back and to solve whatever issue that happens. But like my ego was in the way, which it does happen. I have
all
a
of
huge
us.
ego.
Yeah,
Which,
with all of
you
us,
know.
it's not just one. And what's so funny is he's the shy one in a sense, but he's not really shy. He's our balancer, because we're always hype. Marcus and I always like, because we're the go-getter.
it.
Yeah. No, it's not a battle. It's not necessarily a battle. It's just when you have leaders. But even though I'm the mom, I have to take the mom hat off. You know, it's not always on. Sometimes it's on, but I have to take it off because we're in business together and they're men and I have to respect them as my partners and as men. So it's not going to always be my decision because their opinions and decisions and what they bring to the table are just as important as mine. They have different viewpoints than I have. So that's what keeps us balanced. Because it's like you got the old school, you got the new school.
Right.
So that's what keeps our business balanced. And that's why we're winning. Not trying to make it sound like that.
And I do want to add something in there as well, because it also comes down to, like, when we make decisions, we all have to be in unison. Right now, more oftentimes than not, that's pretty easy. You know what I'm saying? But because we're family, right? Sometimes we all know that we know how to get under each other's skin, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. But we all have to come to an agreement and decide that we are all doing this, right? And that sometimes can be where it gets a little bit, you know, where our personalities clash. But like Marcus said earlier, right? Sometimes we just have to take a moment, think about it, and then come back and say, okay, this is where I was coming from. Where were you coming from, right? And then we sit down and kind of go over the details of it point by point, so we can have a better understanding of who was talking about what. Like when we were in one of your masterminds last year, and we were talking about personality types, right?
Yes.
I feel like when you create a family business, you have to have a better understanding of the personality types of your family members, right? Because you might know your family members to a certain extent, but understanding personality types and then how to communicate with those personality types is what continues to help us grow.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We never even did a formal introduction. My bad. So, like, we were having such a good conversation off screen. I was like, I just want to get right into this.
We know each other. So.
Yeah, we already know each other. So tell everybody who you guys are, what businesses you guys run, because I think it'd be cool to just establish that from the foundation. So I know who you are, but go ahead and share it with everybody.
For sure. Of course, we got to have the mom started off.
Okay. Well, my name is Dr. Tamarra Turner Allen, and I am the CEO of the Fanpreneurs, and I run a podcast called Pussycat Talk Podcast.
Go ahead.
I'm Alexander Turner. I am the soul behind Fanpreneur, if you will.
You say, what do you mean when you say soul?
What you mean?
I keep everything lively and going. But no, I'm the CMO, so I deal with all the marketing in regards to our business. I also have my own podcast called Athletes Wisdom Podcast, where I go over the branding and business side for college athletes in regards to kind of helping them start their own business and their brand.
For sure.
And the brains. You're the soul, then we got the brains over here last.
Exactly.
Well, wait a minute. What am I then? Okay.
You're the visionary.
Oh, I'm the visionary?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, then I need to redo mine.
No, but I'm Markus Turner. I am the COO of the Fanpreneurs, and I deal with a lot of the building the culture, scaling the business side of the Fanpreneurs, and I have my own podcast. Of course, we have our own the Fanpreneur, like all three of us together as well. We have a Fanpreneur podcast. And we're building the individual podcasts that we have, because I have the Black Rockefellers podcast as my individual. I'm big on financial literacy, so it only makes sense. But we're building our own network, like we just discussed earlier, and so we're using our individual podcasts as a starting point of that.
Nice.
Yeah, to funnel through to our Fanpreneurs, because again, that's like they say, I'm the visionary, so everything I see things in completion, and so for us, to be quite honest, we have been working together ever since they were kids. So they have known nothing but a family business with their dad, myself, and them. So having a family business, being called the Fanpreneurs, that's second nature for us, because we've been doing it ever since they were 2 and 4.
Yeah. So, man, I got so many questions for you all, because I think this could go really deep. I want to go back to, you were saying you do a weekly meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
So
Yes.
It's key.
I know you guys said you talk about business, you talk about family.
Yeah.
How do you keep those two things? Like, should you keep them separate?
1,000%.
Yes,
You should.
I have to take off the mom hat.
For sure.
Okay, my husband.
So do you talk about business first and then
Yes.
personal
Yes.
after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
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 Like for me, this is just me, but they agree. Like, I can't talk to you on a personal sense if our money's not in order. That's just me. Like, I mean, we have a family. Of course, you can have those conversations, but like, I want to be able to make money together first, and then at least have my credit in order, my business in order, and it just makes it easier to have a conversation afterwards when the business is in order and the money's in order. Because if I talk to you and then we have money situations, there's gonna be some form of clashing involved.
Yeah, as a dynamic, as a family,
Right.
it's like because we're very close. The other portion of it is we're very close. So because we're very close, we do a lot of things together. We travel together, and people look at us like we're kind of crazy. Like, I think with them, they're like, "You travel with your mom?" And they're like, yeah, we have a lot of fun. We do a lot of things together, and we want to make it normal again that families can do things together and enjoy each other's company, but also can work together as well. So yes, the dynamics of the money is important because they have to understand financial literacy. So when it came into play, as my current husband, got sick, it was like there were situations in our home that financially was going, and I'm very honest with our sons, because they need to understand life is not easy.
Right.
And you need to know how to handle situations when they come. And then when their dad died of COVID, that was a turning point for us and our family, because it's like, even though we were no longer married and I remarried, he was still a part of the family. So it affected us. And it affected us.
Our business too.
Yeah, it affected our business.
You guys had a business before COVID, never like as
yes.
a family business.
Yes, it changed the whole dynamic of who we are, because COVID was a turning point for us, because he died the day after his birthday last week, to be honest, on August the 5th.
Wow.
And then the following year, I caught COVID and I almost died.
Wow.
So those were dynamics that changed how we even did our previous business and changing our name. And had we not had certain things in place financially, because I'm the one, that really kind of handled everything in the house. If it wasn't for me saying, Marcus, this is where everything is, he took care of everything. Alex was the one that was like, Mom, what do you need at the hospital? Because my husband was going through it. My current husband, he had lost his mind at the time. He was like, I don't know he couldn't even function. Let me put it that way. So it was important for us to, one, have therapy, because there was a lot going on. That was a tragic moment for our family dynamic. Two, financially, we were able to prosper. It was crazy because our business prospered more because of COVID, but it was just so much tragedy going on around it. And three, I have to say I'm very proud of my sons, because if it wasn't for them not, knowing what to do, the whole house could have fell apart. So that's because we had put things in place prior to. So the business itself just flourished. Everybody's working in their element. And everybody has to have their own role, because you can't do everything. And that was what the issue was for me. I was like, nope, I don't trust anybody. We're doing it ourselves. So when Marcus said, well, Mom, I'll help you. So when he understood, he was like, Mom, you've been doing all this by yourself all this time? I said, yes. And that's why your business can't grow the way it needs to grow.
It was a lot.
He realized I was doing a lot.
He told you that's why the business wasn't growing, or you're just saying in general? In
general, you can't be just a solopreneur doing everything, because social media plays such a role in our business. And here it is, you're so busy doing the background. So when he saw that and recognized it, he was like, well, Mom, I can help you with this. And because he already had them, in a sense, the mechanical mind, operations came easy to him. Alex was the sports guy, but he is Mr. Personality. Okay. So he was semi-shy, to get in front of the camera at first, but then he's like, I got this. But the branding part became natural for them. So everything that they're doing basically is what their mom was doing. They just took certain parts of what I was doing and they honed it as their own. And that's what's really kind of helped our business grow, because now it's not one person. It's a family dynamic. And plus, we trust each other.
I second that too, because originally Alex and I's roles were switched initially.
Correct.
Right, because Alex was so shy.
Knowing you guys now, that surprises me.
It's different, yeah. Because he was a COO and I was a CMO. I was naturally. I wouldn't say I was naturally, because when I think to kind of give history on why I decided to be more extroverted is because I was very much bullied when I was younger. Right, so when I was bullied when I was younger, I had to not be introverted anymore and learn to be extroverted. So that's what made me the extrovertedness that I am now, or that was part of the reason why. So Alex was shy at the time. Like I think at that time he just shot his first video, and it was a welcome video to his YouTube. And we were like, well, I think, and he was like, I'm not sure if I want to be on a camera yet. And I was like, well, operations may be something that may work for you, because he has a more analytical mind than I do.
Yes.
I'm learning more new things.
Yeah, he's more analytical than I am.
He really is.
I just picked up because I had to. There's a difference. I'm naturally like we were talking about Anil, that's how I naturally am. Do you get what I'm saying? The analytical side happened because somebody had to do it.
Right.
So because I remember when I was younger, I was big into the music industry, and somebody had to mix the song, somebody had to master the song, somebody had to distribute this, somebody had to learn the business. So I just did it because no one else was going to do it. So the analytical side just grew over time. That's what I was saying. Like when we were on here, I'm naturally a red.
Right. So
but you gotta like what my brother was saying, you gotta understand personality types, because I'm a red only in business.
But when it's
personal, I'm not a red. Do you get what I'm saying? It really depends on where I'm at. Like if I'm in a relationship, I am a straight analytical. I overthink everything. If I'm in a relationship, I'm like
for dating.
I'm like, I got everything.
A funnel for dating.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
I was just saying.
That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother.
But I'm very I overthink everything.
Are you dating anybody right now?
No, I'm not dating anybody right now.
That's what I thought.
No, I'm too analytical. No, but when I was in relationships, I was like, dang, should I call her? Should I not call her? Dang, should I hit her up? Should I not hit her up? I'm very okay, if I hit her up, then what would I'm one of those type of people.
Cool. It just shows personalities in business, right? You have to know. You're getting back to saying you have to know the personalities, right? And so many people, they skip that part and they wonder why they're not jiving, because you said you can't communicate in effective ways because you don't know the other person in a deeper level.
For sure.
So what do you guys say for people that are like, I've never done any personality test, I don't know where to go. How do you go about finding those personalities and diving deep into a family, each of the person's personality types? Is that something that
what are the talents?
I can answer that one. So it really starts off with Google, truth be told. because everything is, we're in an age now that information is so easily accessible that people have analysis paralysis, right? So they have so many different options in front of them, they get paralyzed on which one to choose, right? Just pick the first one that you see, and you have to start somewhere, right?
So what do you Google?
So I would say you Google personality type quiz, right? Or DISC assessment quiz, DISC quiz. You and I both know that, but and then take a simple test, whether it's a free version to start off with or a paid version, and then just kind of depending on what you're looking for, right? If you're trying to learn all of the different personality types, then go into more research and understanding the personality types and things like that. But if you're just trying to start off right and just get a better understanding of it, it's just for one, just looking up the different types of personalities there are, understanding what they are and how they communicate, right, and then understand how to communicate with them. Then from there, obviously you want to learn what type of personality type you are, because you can be a mixture of more than one personality type.
Correct.
100%.
It's not just one personality type that you're just in, or that your partner or your business partner or relational partner, whatever the case is. So it's just understanding and get a better understanding of what's immediately around you. So when you're talking to someone and interacting with someone, because most people learn from doing, right? So you can only do so much research. So after you learn that stuff, right, just start implementing it with the people that you interact with on a daily basis. And then from there, it'll just kind of build on top of each other.
The cool thing is,
school,
what do you mean old school?
Because all that right there, I learned from the colors.
Okay.
The jewel color, red, blue, green, yellow, right? How to deal with who's the party animal, who's the one that wants to save the world, who's the analytical, and who is money motivated. So those represented colors, very similar to what he's talked about in DISC. So you have to find, and even when you're talking to people, you have to know how to talk to them. If somebody's a party animal, they're not going to want to work. So you got to find things that they like to do inside of the company that's going to be fun for them to do.
Right.
If they're a person that wants to save the world, we got to make sure there's some community service that's a part of it, so they can feel like they are very much giving back to the community. If it's the analytical, we got to make sure they're dealing with the structure and the functions and things like that. And if it's money motivated, we got to make sure if they're the shark, like, okay, when we getting paid, like I'm doing all this work, I need to get paid.
Right.
So we have to make sure, he said it in the disc, but then there's another simpler way. It's like we have to make sure all 4 of these personalities are taken care of, because if it's not, then it'll be 2 people or 1 person doing more of the work than the other person.
Right.
And that's something that we had to make sure is like, okay, you're not carrying your weight. We don't really have
So you have
that.
like those deep, so you don't have that problem, but
We used to.
if you ever had, how'd you have those conversations? Somebody wasn't pulling their weight. They're like, there's maybe people here watching right now, they have a partnership and the partner is not meeting the needs.
I'd like to comment on that. So I was saying in the beginning, right? I wasn't pulling my weight the way I needed to be, right? So
Hey,
it was just,
he took it. Hey, I'm proud of you, bro.
It was just them being honest and
it.
saying like, hey, like we're doing this, that, and the third. Like, cause let me step back a little bit. When we formulated the business, we had an understanding of what our roles were, what we're supposed to do, and essentially what the compensation was for those roles, right? Now, obviously, from there, we all agreed. We signed the actual contract too, because although we're family, this is business
Yes,
we're talking about, right?
absolutely.
So we signed the contract, and then from there, moving forward to what I was saying, right? It got to a point in which I wasn't pulling the weight that I was supposed to, and they sit down and said, "Hey, you're not doing the things that you said you were going to do. That you said that, hey, I'll take this role. So you can't technically be expected to be paid the same amount if we're doing all the work. You see what I'm saying? You can't. Let's just say a $10,000 deal comes in, and after all expenses, right, I get my percentage, he gets his percentage, and she gets her percentage, right? There's like, technically you don't deserve this money, right? So we're going to give it to you, obviously, because we know, your intentions, yada, yada, and because they're family, that's really why they gave it to me. But business wise, I didn't deserve the money. So it just comes down to having those difficult conversations. And this is where it kind of ties back into when you were asking about our family meetings, right? It starts off with business first, so we can address some of those business issues at hand. Say, hey, this is what's happening in the business. This is what is going good, what's going bad, who needs to step up, where we need to improve on. And so then when we move into the family aspect of the meeting, right? All of because money, like Markus said earlier, that can be a determining factor in a number of ways, right? Both positive and negative. So getting that out the way first helps us then transition into the family meeting aspect. So there aren't any hard feelings, or if there are, we can talk about it in a family manner.
Right.
And whatever hard feelings that someone may have, I mean, we generally squash it during that meeting. It's like, because that's where the family portion comes in at. So we're discussing and working through it, but there's times when we've had some heated arguments. And I won't even say arguments, they were more discussions.
Sometimes they're arguments. It's okay.
Let's be honest.
We're family. It's just, sometimes we go into arguments, sometimes there are debates, discussions. It just depends.
I think it's more of a debate. And there'll be a clash, this, that, and the other, but generally within that hour, it's squashed, because we can't go on, we have a business to run, and we can't, be all in our feelings, during the week and all this other stuff. That affects productivity. And we're not about affect productivity. That's not going to happen. But it is. Sometimes it's hard, and it's like, me being the parent in the very beginning, it was like, do as I say, because it's old school, I'm just like, I'm the parent. But it took someone to say, when you're working, say, okay, let me take my mom hat off. All right. And now we're in business. Now this is your partner talking to you. And so sometimes I think that, sometimes they try to get me and be like, well, Mom, you didn't say that. He calls me Dr. T. He still calls me Mama Mia doing business. I was like, okay, so we have to change that. You need to call me, by my name, because it switches. Because even for them sometimes, they still think as me as mom in the business from time to time.
For sure.
Just from time to time. But at the end of the day, I'm still responsible for what I need to do. He's responsible. He stepped up, and our business has changed because of it. Everybody's playing their role at this moment. And it's been so amazing to see the roles change and to see them flourish into their roles. I can't even begin to say how proud I am because of it, but it just shows that we did the right thing. And it came to character too. So let's roll that back. Him not carrying his weight at the time was about character for me. So what's your core value? Like, how are you raised? Like, what, we're not going to.
I was raised how you raised me.
Exactly. I mean, you're a spoiled brat, but at the end of the day, do you really think that that's fair? Do you want somebody to treat you like that? So why would you do that to us? Don't take advantage of us, and we won't take advantage of you. So it was some heavy conversations, and it came down to integrity and character. And that's what we pride ourselves in, being out there to other people when we're providing services to them. Integrity and character.
So the question is, does your family have core values?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. And so I know your alls do, but the people listening, I don't think people think about that. Like, they don't, all they're worried about is putting food on the table, making sure the kids are taken care of, making sure the kids go off to high school, college. Never really think about intentional parenting, which we were talking about. Because I have a little girl, and so we were talking about the changes that come with having a family now. And so intentional parenting is something we've been diving into, and core values is something really cool. So how would you go about instructing people they find their core values? How did you guys find your core values for your family, and how would you guide other people who are starting? And I think maybe, do you guys think maybe that it should start before the family comes?
That's kind of hard to say.
It's like, okay, so when you're creating your core values, I'm gonna answer your first question. How do you create
I know there was
core
a lot
values?
of questions, so I apologize.
So how do you create core values? And this is something that took us time to figure out, because it may not be one discussion.
Along with our mission statement.
Right. You have to individually create. So let's say, for example, Alex has to create core values, personal core values. My mom has to create personal core values, and I have to create personal core values. And then we come as a collective, and then we talk about which one aligns with everybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? So but in order to know how to create core values in general, you have to identify the characteristics in yourself, and then what you want your leaders to represent. And then you just come out with like 3 to 5 core values, short, sweet, nothing crazy, 1 or 2 words of what represents you and your family, right? And then from there you go, and before you even identify core values, you have to identify the vision first, right? So you can't even create core values if you don't even know what the vision is.
What's your vision for your family?
Right. So you got to understand. You got to understand the vision. Then you got to understand the mission, and then you got to understand your values.
Okay.
Do you know?
So there's a process behind it.
Marcus helped bring that. He's like, Mom, I think we should do this. I was like, okay. Because when, in the Black community, it's like we had just came from one of our family reunions, and we always have family reunion, right? Every other year. And it talks about, we talk about, hey, did you guys establish your trust? Did you guys, put these insurances in place? And that's what they discuss at our family reunion. So in the Black community, and I don't know of anyone else, so hopefully I'm not offending anyone, but but it starts at home first. It has to start at home. And believe it or not, a lot of families don't talk about that.
Right.
They don't talk about credit. They don't show how to pay bills.
Taboo.
I mean, it's funny because although technology is great, there are a lot of things that have been lost. Like how to balance a checkbook. You guys are using debit cards all the time, which you should never use. But you're not balancing yourself out. And so it's like, then you're not paying your bills on time. And I'm like, guys, you got to pay your credit on time. Well, what do I need credit for? So it was all of these things that we have to teach. You have to teach your family because, again, it affects the bottom line. What you do financially affects the whole dynamic of your household and your family. Because if you're overspending, if you don't have good credit, it determines where you eat, what you drive, and where you live. So for us, the core value is making sure that we're sound financially, and so that we can do some of the things that we want to do as a family and individually.
Yeah, like one of our core values is family first.
Yes.
That's the main. If that's not the most important core value that we have, that's the most important. That's the number one.
That or integrity.
Yeah, that for sure. Like we have 5 core values, but like those are the 2 things that are like super important for us. And what
resilience.
Right, and what we determine, and and I was just doing some research recently, is that we have to think like way back when the tribes was established. You know what I'm saying? Like when tribes was established, like they would go to the elders and the elders would make decisions and blah, 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 blah. Right. And they had something called family governance, right? Like you pretty much create a family government within your family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like to kind of break it down in a simpler terms, you know how the government has a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and executive branch, right? So the legislative branch, for people who aren't aware, is like people who create the laws, right? The judicial is the Congress, and the executive is pretty much the enforcers, which is like the president and everything, right? And so when you're doing the legislative branch, those are the people, that's where you have like your family meetings, right? That's where you determine what things are going to get done, your core values, your vision, mission, and values. You start having your annual family meetings, because it doesn't just go from weekly family meetings. You want to have annual family meetings as well, right? And there are even some quarterly meetings involved, but like that's more like for the executive branch, right? The executive branch
are elders that are in
those are like your family council.
Yes.
Right? So your family council are the people that really come together either on a quarterly or on an annual basis, and they're the ones that are like the democracy of things, right? So when it comes to the family assembly, that's what the legislative branch is actually called. It's the family assembly. So that's like your weekly meetings, your annual meetings, right? And those meetings, you vote people to be in the family council, right? So like it's legit like a government. You're voting people to be in certain positions to be able to make decisions, big decisions for the entire family. Then you got the judicial branch, which is like the Congress of things. That's where your elders are. You can either call them your advisory council or the council of elders, whichever one works, right? Those are the people that, they give those legends, those stories, those myths, and pass those things down. And then they're the ones that
for wisdom.
Yeah, they're exactly. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, and the meetings also vote for the people who's going to be the elders. So like, it's really deeper than just, I just need a family business.
Correct.
It's more of, I need to understand how to operate, because the business can be in the family as well. You got to understand how the family operates, and then you'll be able to actually, if you can run your family, you can run a business.
Technically, your family is a business.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Your family is a business. Because think about it. You have you're generally the wife is managing the things at home, okay? Or the kids, making sure everybody eats, make sure, the husband working so they make sure the bills get paid. You have things that you're operating outside of the house. You have accounts payable, you have accounts receivables, things that you're paying out, income that's coming in, where are things are going to be saved. So, who's going to do the planning for the year, where are we going for the summer. Your family is a business.
Family balance sheets, family income sheets, family profit and loss. They're all the same.
But people don't look at it that way. And so when people ask, I remember Neil asking, how did you get your sons on the same page? I said, I used to say, I'll beat them.
Us.
Okay.
No, for
she
real.
threatened us. It's funny now.
Yeah, but that's what it was.
Well, they're not scared
Not physically
of me.
threatened.
Right, they're not scared of me now. But I, like, guys, you have to understand that, again, not speaking in reference to race, I said you are black men and you have to do things differently, and we have to put things in place in case something happens. And lo and behold, something happened. And if those things were not in place, it would have been chaos. And so not everybody has that. Not everybody thinks about that. They just go through life like a walking zombie. Oh, I got to go to work, and people are literally driving themselves to work. Their car is driving them. They don't think about it. They're going to work to pay bills. Oh, I got to go to work to pay bills. You're not thinking about your future, how to plan things out. So you have to start saying, okay, what can I do outside of a job? What can I do in creating a business, turn my talents into a profit? What can we as a family do together? Everybody, we still have our own individual things that we do. Our family business, the Fanpreneurs, is our main business. And that's showing that you can still have individuality in the business, but you can still run a business together.
Bernard Arnault family is a perfect example of that. All the major designer brands that you think of, Louis, Fendi, Gucci, all this perfumes, and one family owns all of that. Right. But there are multiple different businesses that quote unquote compete with each other. But really that's just them competing with each other to continue to build up each business, build up profits, build up clientele, revenue, notoriety, whatever the case is. But so to the outside world, it looks like, oh wow, they're competitors, but in all reality, it's collaboration over competition.
And it's friendly competition. We used to go work out in the mornings together. And Alex, I was like, why are you trying to compete with me? You remember that?
You talk about with Nigel?
Yes. Well, I was like, why are you competing with me? You know,
I was competing with myself.
I just got to get this. I said, no, you're trying to compete. You can never compete with me. So we have our little friendly competitions that we have within the family.
It helps push each other to do better because we know that it's really no competition, but we all have a competitive mindset, right? So it's just really just like
healthy.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I'm going to push myself, but I know I'm going to push you as well. Because like I said, it's kind of going back to that personality type. Like we know that we're all competitive. So if I just kind of egg you on a little bit, I know you're going to push yourself harder, which is essentially still going to push me harder. And then all of us are going to get better.
Like we're not a competition right now, but we're juicing together. Well, he's like, I'm still going to eat, but we're juicing.
I'm a carnivore, y'all.
But so we just have so many, and that's the thing. You get to learn your family. You know, some family members don't even know their family members. They don't have conversations with them. They don't even know what they like, what they dislike. You know, so this gives us an opportunity to just have true conversations. Get to like the people that you know, that's your family members, because some family members don't even like each other. So it has really changed how, you know, and I say to them, I say, when you go out in the world, remember you're representing your family. So act accordingly. And this is when they were younger. So now I don't even have to say that, because your core value, I used to say, what's your core value? You remember I used to say that? I said, your core value when you're out there is going to dictate how you're going to act. Okay. So for me, you know, like I said, it's an absolute honor to be in business with my sons as men, because they're not little boys anymore. They're men. And I respect them wholeheartedly, and they're my best friends. So it's just been amazing. It's been amazing.
My bad. It's been a lecture more than an interview.
I think people will find value from it. I think we'll learn something.
Markus.
So real quick. Oh. So people are watching, and you know, they don't have they don't have kids.
Right.
You know, husband and wife.
Correct.
Maybe the husband wants to start a business with the wife. The wife doesn't really see it that way, or vice versa. The wife has this big idea. Husband, not bought into the vision. Mm-hmm. How do you get them to buy into the vision, or do you even try? Do you show them first before getting them bought into the vision? Like, what's that look like?
Well, I can actually answer on that because
you're not married. You can't answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that because of my ex-husband. I mean, the boy's dad, my ex-husband. Sometimes we moved in different directions, and what's crazy was the reason why also the boys know about business is because their dad and I, when we started dating, we went into business with each other. So we've known nothing but business. But there are times when a partner is like, oh, you've tried this, you've tried that. It's not going to work. You're going to have that in some relationships. The best thing that I can say to do is
leave them. No, I'm playing. I'm joking.
Even when to say that.
It is hard to be on the same page sometimes. There are a lot of couples who don't see eye to eye. One person wants to do I've seen marriages actually dissolve because one person wants to do a business and the other one didn't. But you have to respect each other, have us, sit down with each other and say, look, sometimes you need a therapist involved. So we talk about family therapy and what we do as well, because that's super duper important. But sometimes you have to sit down with that person and say, look, I just need you to give me 6 months, a year. Let me try this out. If it doesn't work, I'll let it go. But, the other person has to be willing to say, okay, I trust you enough. Okay. If this is something that you want to do, I value you and I trust you enough to help you see it through. Right. And if it doesn't work,
so you're saying there may be a trust issue there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a trust situation.
If there's a some kind of obstacle there.
Most definitely.
What I've seen her do that I'll never forget and she's even done that with us, is
what are you laughing at? See, she's already laughing before you even said anything.
I know, because she already knows.
Because they're like, Mom, I'm not doing that.
What I've seen that always happens is it's bigger than just a trust issue. It's a vision issue, right? So like what happens is that the husband and the wife don't have the same vision. Mm-hmm. So what happened? This is what I've seen.
Visualize the same vision.
Correct. So what I always tell people to do is, this is what most people do. The husband or the wife will go to an event, right? And then they'll get super pumped up and excited, and they want to do the business, and then they come home and feed their spouse the dog food.
Yep.
And be like, this is what I want them to do. This is what we got to do. I'm excited. But then they're like, well, I don't get it.
Right.
So what I always suggest, and I've seen her do all the times, is just both of you go to the event.
Yep.
Bring your spouse with you. That'll solve probably 90% of your problems. You get what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is because there's no unity before that conversation.
Correct.
There's no unity before that conversation even happens.
Correct.
And
because then the trust will happen
They
afterwards.
still may not be interested and be like, okay, I saw it, but I'm still not interested.
That's cool.
But you still have to say, well, you were exposed to it. This is something that I'm interested in doing. And if you can give me some time to work it out, let me try. Try is a negative. Let me work and see how it works, because you have to be very careful in your words too. Let me work it out and see what manifests. Give me 6 months, give me a year, give me 18 months. During that time frame, you should know if something is working for you or not within 6 months to a year.
Right.
And if it's not working, then move on. And you can say, hey, I tried it. It didn't work out. Thank you for allowing me to do it. Now, what is it that you want to do? Because sometimes it takes taking turns.
And another thing what that does, as far as when Marcus was saying, bring them along with, because like I said earlier, it helps them visualize what you're visualizing, right? And another way to help them along that is we all describe things differently, but we're all visual learners, right? So you remember when you were in school, like when they talked about the different type of learning, auditory, kinetic, visual, understand what type of learner they are as well. That kind of goes a little bit back into personality types, right? But understanding who you're working with. So if we're both visual learners, okay, let's just say one situation you didn't go to the event with me, one situation you did go to the event with me, right? If you didn't go to the event with me, I need to craft it in a way that you're able to visualize it the best way that's best for you. And if you did go with me, but let's just say, like Dr. T, my mom said, that they're still not with it, just still make sure that they understand the vision that you're doing. Because then what that also does is, let's just say your partner, whatever it is not fully committed. They can also drain your energy.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like they can, whether knowingly, like intentionally or unintentionally, right? You're coming and you're excited. You're telling them about this dream that you have, this big vision. They don't see it or they don't understand it. So even if they are trying to support you, right, they still aren't able to quite do it, because now they're like, okay, I'm not on the same energy level that you're on. So like now that you're up here, like you as an individual, you're up here, but then your partner's down here, y'all are eventually still going to balance out. So maybe they might come up a little bit, but you're still coming down, right? So you have to help them actually visualize it so they're not draining your energy, so they can see the vision, so they can understand the necessary steps to help you get to that point.
Good conversations, guys. I know our time's coming up. I know you guys have other things to go on to. So real quick, before we end this out, I know you guys have an event, so we're going to talk about that. So give people an opportunity to learn more about that, how they can attend. But what would be like one piece of advice? I know you gave many, many pieces of advice, but just one last words you would give to people who want to build a family business. They already have the vision, right? They're like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, but now they just got to start. So what would the advice be to get them started in that family business?
You start.
You sure?
Yeah, you start.
I was just going to say to start.
Yeah.
Honestly, like figure out. So I feel like to first put it on paper, right?
Yes.
Because when you write things out, it helps you, for one, visualize it better. So then when you're also telling it to other people, right, it helps them have a better understanding of what they're looking at. And I'll kind of let Marcus pivot into the next one right there.
Write the vision, make it plain.
So for me, it's about the exit plan. you could start all day. People start businesses every day, but people don't have the exit in mind. They don't. The vision is nice. The hype is nice. The goal is nice. We could talk about it all day, but like, what is the actual exit plan? What is the goal for what we're doing? I feel like if you know the goal and you know the reason why you're doing these things and you figure out the why, sometimes I feel like somebody's why isn't strong enough. I always say that your why should make you cry. That's how strong your why should be. Some people's whys aren't strong enough. Some people always says it's for my family. Everybody says it's for their family.
Well, I want to make money.
Yeah, everybody says
gotta be
those.
more than that.
But like, it has to be deeper than just the rooted of money and family. Like, it has to be something like that's painful, because they say that a successful millionaire has three things. There's three character traits that a successful person has. I can't remember the third one, but the first one is they have an insane insecurity. Mm-hmm. The second one is they have an insane ego, right? And then the third one I can't really remember. But
You got that one down, Pat.
Yeah, so like
I'm just joking. We were talking about your ego.
But the thing is that the ego is not really the fact of like pride or any of those. It's just that they have, it's like drive. You know what I'm saying?
I got
so
you.
like they have
drive.
It's
and
more
an
like
ego.
ambition and drive.
I got you.
You want to get to the goal so bad that because you don't want to be broke or you don't want to be with that insecurity you don't want to have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like,
I wouldn't necessarily say the insecurity. And when you say ego, so let me make sure everybody understands. When he's not more so ego, it's more passion. He's a very passionate individual. Right. So I don't raise egotistic. No, okay.
No, but
I was messing with you guys.
That's what I'm saying. It's
we were just messing.
No, but a successful person does have an insane insecurity, because if a person was broke, they do not want to be broke ever again. Do you see what I'm saying? So they have to have massive drive and execution in order to never get to that point again. That's the character trait of a successful individual. You can ask anybody, if they a successful person, do you want to go back to where you were? They will say no.
No.
You see what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is you have to have a why, and then you have to have the exit plan. And the exit plan is, for us as family business owners, is that the goal is to be able to pass it on.
Correct.
Right? Like that's the whole point, is to leave a legacy. That's the whole goal. And legacy, the word gets thrown around a lot, but like based on the conversations, of course, when people listen to this podcast, they will know that our legacy is a lot different from other people's.
It's helping other families build a legacy for their family, which is what our event is for, right? It's to help
United Families Crafting Legacies.
Exactly. And understanding. And a lot of times people, they try to build something, but they haven't even understood the basics of what they're building, right? So legacy is something that you either receive from a predecessor or that you're passing down to a next generation. So we're helping somebody, if they haven't been passed down anything, we're helping somebody build something they can pass down for generations, not just one generation, not just two generations, not just three, but as many generations as can be. And a lot of that stems from the family business, right? So in the FamCon that we have coming up in October, we're helping families understand, for one, what a legacy is, and then helping them visualize what their legacy is, and then giving them the necessary tools, the necessary environment to help craft and then cultivate and then keep them accountable, right? Because accountability is probably the number one thing that will help people get to wherever their goal is.
And consistency. So for me, how this kind of also started was, I said, I want my picture on the wall.
I got you.
And it really kind of started with me saying that
As a joke, in a sense, but she was serious.
But I was serious, because it's like, what are we leaving behind? Like their dad left them some things behind. So what did you do with some of the things that he left behind? That's a legacy. He left something for you. Now, what are you doing with what he left for you to give on to when you guys have children? So for us, it's more of, let's help the community understand that we can use this technology to our advantage and take, whether it's AI, because I love AI. They don't like some of the things I do with AI, but I love AI.
It's crazy what you can do.
It's crazy. Well, he's an AI person, so I take that back. But I like to do the images and things like that and create books and write. And we all are authors, by the way. So that was a mandatory thing, that they had to write their own book. I said, because one, it gives you credibility. Two, it'll get you to understand that when you're out there, people need to know who you are. And a book, you can pour your heart into a book. So at FamCon, we're going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff. And we're going to have some great, amazing speakers as well. But our number one is about the dynamics, having your own family crest, having your own trust, having your own company seal, knowing what type of insurances that can pay your family. Okay? Now, because
creating your own family bank.
Right. Becoming your own family bank. That's the part that I really love. That you can become your own family bank. You don't have to go anywhere else to get any money because your family bank will have it. Creating that business. So what do? Taking all this information and creating into a business that's going to consistently generate revenue on a consistent basis. And then for those folks who may have something they just want to chill out, or they need some help, we got the family therapy that's going to be there as well. And then we got something for our youth. It's called the Youthpreneurs. So we wanted to make sure we incorporated them so they can be totally involved with the family business.
They're the next generation. They're where the legacy is being passed down to. And I always get excited on the family bank. I just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit. Think about it like this, right? For people who are listening who don't understand the full ins and outs of a family bank, I'm gonna put it as simple as this. Let's just say you go to whatever your bank is, Chase, Bank of America, Navy Federal, whatever, and you apply for a loan, right? You always have some type of interest payment that has to be paid back to them. Having your own family bank, you end up going to your own family and borrowing that money. You set your own interest rate, but the interest rate is being paid back to you along with the money. So the money continues to build on top of each other rather than you paying it back to a bank and it's being outsourced somewhere else. So that's
a deep conversation. You want to speak for another hour?
I mean, that's a whole nother.
But people don't think about that. And where do we get this idea from? From the Rockefellers, you know, and so many other families as well, family businesses that, you know, have done things along the way. But if we start thinking that way, that we can be our own bank, our own family bank, a lot of people wouldn't be broke. And let me give one example. I had a Jamaican neighbor, and I swear it had to be at least 10 people, 15 people in the house, right? Sheesh. So they would pool their money together and they would do fish fries and things like that. And they would literally help that one person in the house get their house. Then everybody would pool together. Then the next person, that money will get the next person's house. And then they did the same thing with the business as well that funded that business. So think about how you wouldn't have to get any student loans if everybody's pooling their money together to help that one child if they're going to college, or if that person is starting a business, or if that person's starting a house. But it's all still under one unit, the main unit, the Fanpreneur, that family business. So when you think of it that way, each family could be doing that. Nobody would be in debt. We wouldn't have some of the things that we're having. And that's one of the reasons why we started the Fanpreneur. So you got to come join us at FamCon.
That's what I was going to say. FamCon, October, what's the dates again?
October 12th through the 14th. And we're going to have a big, I have to say
14th
this.
Or the 15th?
It ends on the 14th with the masquerade ball, but from the 12th to the 15th. Okay. So I'm super duper excited because we're going to do something legacy-wise. So we're going to have a big old masquerade ball where everybody's going to dress up towards the end of the conference. And we're just going to have a really big dinner and just really fellowship, because where we break bread is where we create dynasties. So.
Let's go. Well, guys, check out. I'm going to go ahead. Is it okay if I throw your link in the description for them? Sure, all right. So link's going to be down there. You guys can check it out. YouTube, wherever you're going. What's the domain? So if people are listening.
Yeah.
FAMCON, expo.com.
FamconExpo.com.
Family Conference Expo.
Yes, FamconExpo.com.
FamconExpo.com. Okay, well, go check it out, guys. And thank you for being on here. I know we didn't plan this too far out, so thank you guys for coming down and just talking about building a family business. So if you guys like this, go check it out. Where can people find you all at? Is there like a Fanpreneur website? What's that look like?
So you can actually everywhere, the Fanpreneurs, everywhere on every social media platform. You'll see all three of us. And then,
yes.
you'll
fanpreneur.com or fanpreneurs.com. on social media handles, our Instagram, Facebook, and we just created a brand new YouTube. So you may not see a lot on there right now, but you will, because we got a lot of great things.
They have a pink and black podcast studio.
No, we don't. Don't listen to this, man. And if you do want to ask us questions personally, you can find myself at alex.n.turner on Instagram.
Tamarra, Tamarra, Allen, on all social media handles.
ALLEN, not ALN.
Thank you, son.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can find me, Markus Turner Official, Markus Turner Official, on everywhere.
Love it. Well, guys, go explore what they have going on. Listen, if you have a family, definitely go explore what they have coming on. I'm going to maybe I'm going to see if the wife will let me shimmy down there and maybe bring her along with the baby. But guys, we do this every single week. We drop podcasts, we drop videos for you guys to learn how to grow your online business and really just get to that next level. So if you enjoy this, go ahead, hit subscribe. If you're listening, leave a review. It helps us more than anything. And we hope these are valuable for you. We hope these change your life in some way. And I know it changes mine having these personal conversations. I get to learn something new every time, especially about family banks and what I need to do with my wife. We'll come back and talk about that. But just core values and everything it's amazing to learn. So thank you guys again for coming on. Everybody else, we'll see you very soon. And God bless you guys.
God bless.
Let's get it.
Thanks so much.